ready whenever you are.
We'd like to call a November meeting to order, please, and our first order of business will be Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have on our agenda, first item will be the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting. And I think everybody was here, so do we have a motion for approval of the minutes of our October meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. And then we have a confirmation of an approval of claims.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Before you today, you have the November 2019 claims for approval. The total claims is $910,829.60. Of that amount, the Fund 1 totals a little over $325,000. The difference from last year is nearly $47,000. You have there in your notes that there are a few differences that are attributable to that difference. In part, you see Fifth Third Bank. This is now fully the first year, or the first full year rather, that we have had payments issued to Fifth Third Bank for our credit card rebate program. So you'll see that amount's not as great as it's been in previous months, but that is how much it is over for this time last year. I apologize. You see also listed in your claims report, there's a payment to Snyder and Simpson Construction. That's for the recent dugout repairs that were completed for the softball dugout. Also last year there were purchases, actually this year, apologize. There were purchases for ViewSonics, $18,000. And then also we made a payment to Nelson County Board of Education for our part of the aerospace program. Also debt service, we had a $67,929.97 payment for 2 bond series interest. And that's all I have for the claims unless you have a question.
Is there any insurance on the dugout?
Yes, and we did receive a check for the dugout. We had to pay the deductible, of course, but that was our payment to have it repaired.
The credit card, we're getting some money back off of that. Is that working well? What's the average?
So we haven't, actually last year we did receive our first payment, but you have to remember we started with Fifth Third in September. So we had very little on there for that first year. And actually last year our rebate was larger from Fifth Third than it was American Express. So it's going to be considerably more. I would expect that this year because we're also able to put our utilities, some of our food service, some other vendors that would not use American Express are now accepting the MasterCard from Fifth Third.
Mm-hmm.
So I anticipate it's going to be quite a bit larger.
The city of Bardstown is taking credit card now?
They are. Don't say it very loud. They might stop. So they are. They're accepting our payment through ACI.
25,000.
Well, I mean, it varies month to month, but yeah, they're allowing us to do that.
Outstanding.
Yes, it's pretty awesome.
Any more session? Okay, we'd like the first motion for approval.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we've got this, so yeah, financial report.
So reviewing the treasurer's report for this month, for October ending rather, there's a verified cash balance of $7,527,609.63. You see the breakdown there between the categories of funds. I will remind you that that general fund balance is pretty significant. That's because of our tax revenue, and there's approximately $2 million of building fund monies there that will be transferred later this year to pay our debt service. There's just a few things that I wanted to mention to you this month. As of the first week of November, our tax collection is at approximately 85%. That is consistent with years past. I just thought that you'd like to have that information. With the audit information that's being finalized today, we have some comments from the schools for their funds that they hold, or that they held there last year, that are now here in our general fund. Dr. Clark and I are scheduling meetings with the principals and the bookkeepers to review that information. And then also, we're in this budget cycle. You think you're finished with one year and you're going to have a little lull? There's no lull. So next month, we're going to be starting the draft budget for fiscal year 2021 school year. We'll be starting that next month. Dr. Clark and myself will be meeting with principals and other stakeholders, department heads, to discuss what their needs are for the next fiscal year, so we can develop that budget and have it for you in January to review and approve. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Looking forward to sharing my report with you today. To give you just a little bit of background, we, as you know, last week, gosh, was it last week or the week before? Maybe it was last week. And I think the middle school maybe celebrated the week before, which you're allowed to do, but we had our Veterans Day programs, various programs taking place in all of our schools. I thought it was very appropriate to share just a spotlight of one of those, and they were all tremendous programs. They varied in length, varied in complexity based on the audience of kids, but we had two young ladies that really seemed to stand out, and they were MCs for this program. This was completely student-led, and I invited them to come and just talk a little bit about their experience. And I really appreciate the fact that, and I want the board to know, I mean, there are opportunities all the time where kids take on a leadership role. That's just getting to be more and more of a commonplace in schools, and I'm really proud of kids taking that ball and running with it and doing just a tremendous job. So the two young ladies that I'd like to introduce to you are Amy Lorblero Perez, and then also Kiana Hunter. So they'll just talk to us a little bit about their work as MCs for the Veterans Day program at the middle school.
We, Amy Roblero Perez and Kiana Hunter, we were the Masters of Ceremony for a recent Veterans Day program we held, which included various things we did to honor those that have fought for us. We'll start off by talking about the planning of the program.
As a school leadership team, we had Pancakes with Patriots for all the Patriots and a poster and essay contest. This was for every student in Bardstown Middle School to have a choice to create a poster or write an essay about what they know about Veterans Day. Our BMS ambassadors brought in donations to help serve the breakfast to veterans, and we also developed the slideshow, and several participated in the contest. We, the Master of Ceremony, we are in charge of walking students through the program while providing information. This is one of the examples of the slideshow. We have students have came together and recognized all of the veterans that have fought for our lives. So this is like one of the examples that were there during
This picture of Sons of Bardstown, they were soldiers that served in the Vietnam War from 1968 to 1969. And we thought it would be a great idea to make their service known. And then some of the highlights of the program were the presentation of colors, which Christopher Sauter did for us. And we also had the BMS Orchestra play a variety of songs that had to do with a bunch of Veteran Day related stuff. And we also had the 8th grade chorus sing a collection of songs that they had been working on. And we had Mr. Craig Fry, a math teacher at the Bardstown Middle School, play his trumpet. And we also had, our teacher also had us share a variety of information about Veterans Day, to not just inform the public of the service they give us, but what they actually do as a whole and the sacrifice it takes to be a veteran. And Mr. Jeremy Schultz, who's also a math teacher at Bardstown, played a collection of video clips that demonstrated that Veterans Day isn't just about the past, but the present as well, because we're handing off a veteran's duty to our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, girls. So they really did a tremendous job. Y'all did a great job just now too. But it was a well orchestrated program, and I wish all of y'all could have seen it. So you just got a little glimpse of a few pictures. I appreciate you all coming very much.
Thank you.
Also, I have, you may be familiar with, if you think back to a presentation from Lance Blanford about the P2P. There's a component of the P2P program which is all about students developing their individual learning plans and kind of researching their hopes and dreams in terms of college and career. But there's a component of that that's called the Student Job Board. There are lots and lots of offerings for students on that job board, and some of them are opportunities, internships within our own district. Kelly Bettleton, who is happily on maternity leave right now, she took on 2 interns, Rory Kaiser and Becca Walsh, and I thought it was very appropriate to also share, have them share some things that they've learned, and I think they've learned a ton working with Kelly, and I wanted them to just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off. I'm Rory Kaiser, and I'm a junior at Bardstown High School, and I applied for this position just kind of because I'm really interested in going in a career with journalism, marketing, communications. That's kind of like ideal for me. So for me, these are some of the most things that I've learned. How to edit Adobe Premiere Pro, which is really hard to learn actually, but me and Becca are getting there. And how to write valid questions for the interviewer so the message is clear. How to be creative in choosing the setting to interview that's both relevant and appealing to the viewer. How to manage time and plan the interview and edit while being involved in school and extracurricular activities. So all those things are some of the most important things I've learned so far, and it's only November, so I can't wait to see what happens by the end of the year. Next, we have a clip of one of my most recent projects.
Laura is a joy. She is fun, energetic. She always has something really good to say. She loves kids, and I love working with people who love kids.
So one of the, something I struggled with while shooting this was during the scene where you have to have the girls say Miss Laura, you have to have 2 cameras going on at the same time, so we had to get 2 different shots. So that was something I was like, this is kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of kids, and we have to get this right the first time. And also, it was actually kind of special to interview my mom because she is one of my role models, so I thought that was awesome that I got to add her to my video. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Lori.
Next is Becca.
My name is Becca Walsh, and I'm a senior over at the high school. I applied for this position because I actually want to go, I want to have a career in the film industry, and so I want to go to school out in California for college. So with this internship, I just kind of wanted to get my feet wet with making videos. Thought it would be pretty helpful. So some of the things that I've learned so far is how to operate the camera equipment, which is obviously very important with making the videos. How to interact with the people behind the camera, and because sometimes you kind of have to guide them to say the correct thing, or they get really nervous, so you have to reassure them that it's all okay and that we can do it multiple times. I've learned how to capture footage that is visibly appealing and makes sense for the video subject. And my favorite has been editing in Adobe Premiere Pro because I think that's where I can be most creative. So here's a clip of my first video.
You know, you have such a short time with a student to work hard every day to help that person succeed. It's very humbling to know that on some level, what I've done at school has mattered. I think that the biggest thing that I can offer each day is for students to see that I'm committed to them learning, that I believe that each of them can learn, and that all of their potential is unlimited, that the sky's the limit for any student here at Bardstown.
He really believes in kids. He believes in our district.
Okay, so I chose to show you guys this clip because a bit of a struggle that I had with making this video, and with the video that I'm making right now, is choosing a beat that fits well with it. So the music in this, I spent a long time finding that specific beat because I needed to find one that was uplifting and wasn't too slow. So in this particular clip, before this, everything was very upbeat and fast, and then whenever we get to this, Mr. Harden kind of gets more sentimental and serious, and so the beat slows down a little bit, so I had to cut some of the music to make that fit right there. And also at the end, whenever you see Ms. Burks come in, I shot this in the middle school, obviously because these are all middle school teachers, and some of the classrooms over there aren't the most visibly appealing just because those teachers aren't all into the crafty things that maybe the primary teachers are. So thankfully we were able to find the catwalk where the students had put all of their hands on the wall to show, I think it was their K-Prep test scores. Yeah, so that really helped because it was very cute and the lighting was great, and so it turned out to be a really good shot. So yeah.
Thank you.
I would say probably one of the things that you both drew from this experience is how much pre-planning it takes for a live event.
Yes.
Because there's no seconds. Just pace and all that, so good job.
Another thing, you two ladies operated the audio-visual projector a lot better than some of the people in here that probably do.
Yes, I would agree with that too. Thank you both. Really great work. And I don't know if you guys recognize Laura Montgomery and Eric Harden, the subjects of both of those videos. Those were Teachers of the Year, Best of Nelson County teachers that were recognized. So that was the work that they did. And they did amazing work. If you haven't seen it on Facebook, you ought to check that out. So thank you both very much. I think they're going to continue learning a great deal. I guess and they're working with Miss Hall right now, Lee Hall, and then Miss Bettleton will be back with us somewhere mid to late January. So thank you both. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes Superintendent's report.
Okay, do we have any visitors today? Doesn't look like we do, so we'll pass on that. Now we're looking for the approval for the fiscal year 2019 audit report.
I'll invite Mr. Strange, Jason Strange, to the podium.
All right, first I'd like to thank the board for having Stiles and Carter and Associates have us perform your fiscal year 19 audit. Everything was provided to us timely and no significant issues we noted. With that, I think you all have a copy. On page 1 begins our report on your financials. And on page 2 at the top, you'll see a heading that says opinions. And that's where we state that in our opinion, your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principle, which is a unmodified opinion, a clean opinion on your financial statements. So again, I think I've been through this a few years with you all. I'm just going to touch on some highlights. If anybody has any detailed questions, we can get into those. But with that, I'd have you go to page 11. This is your first beginning of your financial statements, your statement of net position, which has all your long-term assets, capital assets, and all your long-term liabilities, your bonds, and some other items that we'll go over. You'll see there in the far right total column, total assets of $31.3 million, plus $4.2 million in deferred outflows, less liabilities of $44.4 and deferred inflows of $1.8 leave you a net deficit of $10.7 million. And as in prior years, the majority of that, if you look under the non-current liabilities, you'll see 3 line items there for county employee retirement system, OPEB, which is the other post-employment benefit liability, TRS, OPEB, and SERS pension liability. So you can see there, those 3 items make up a deficit, or add to your deficit as being liabilities of $3.1 million, $7.6 million, and $10.7 million. Next, on page 13, this is your balance sheet on the modified accrual basis, which is more similar to what you all see in your monthly AFR balance sheet. You'll see cash and equivalents in the general fund of $2.6 million, cash in the construction fund of $1.7 million, and total cash for your governmental funds of $4.45 million. Also in the general fund, you'll see total assets of $3.1 million, total liabilities of $476,000, which gives you a fund balance in your general fund of $3.1 million. On page 15, just kind of go over some highlights of how this fund balance changed for the general fund. You have total revenues of $27.2 in the far left column for your general fund. Expenditures of $27.4. For net change in your fund balance was a decrease of approximately $252,000. So fund balance decreased from $2.8 million the prior year to $2.53 million at June 30th, 2019. Some highlights in the notes on page 30, at the top, that first table, note E. Some items that were for additions and improvements, for energy improvements. You'll see your buildings had increased, as well as construction and process, $1.2 million increase. Buildings, a $1.3 million that was added into service this year. And some buses that were purchased under vehicles of this $233,000. And portion of which of that was under KISTA leases that funded those bus purchases. Page 31, about midway down, we just detail there in April 19, $1.77 million in the energy revenue bonds were issued during the fiscal year. And on page 33, this gives a summary of your bonds for the year, where they started at $20.7 million, the $1.77 in energy bonds that were issued, less regularly scheduled principal payments of $1.5 million, left with an ending balance of $20.9 million in bonds payable at June 30th, 2019. You'll see there those capital lease obligations, the third line item down on the table, increased to 184. Those were the KISTA buses that were purchased. Also, I'm going to have you go to page 73. This is a summary I think I've gone over with you in previous years, that this is a good succinct summary of our findings over financial statement items, and then also over our procedure over federal awards. You'll see you had an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. No material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted in internal controls over financial reporting, and no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over internal controls for federal award expenditures. So if anyone has any questions, I can dive into those.
I thought I had it marked in here, but I can't find it. There was a particular page in here that showed the increasing, ever increasing percentage that we have to cover for the retirements and things versus the state, but it was ridiculous.
It doesn't vary year to year.
See, it goes up from one year to the next, is the tendency, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Are you on page 58?
like I said, I had it marked and erased it. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so your SERS proportionate share of the pension liability went from, in 2015, when you started reporting this, when the accounting standard changed, it was $5.6 million. At the end of this year, it's $10.7 million for the county employee retirement system. Now, the TRS above that, the state's funding 100% of that, as if you'll recall us going over before, that you all don't technically pick up a liability on your financial statements for the TRS pension-related item. Was that the schedule you're looking for? Okay.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Thank you, Mr.
All
Kramer.
right, thank you all.
Thank you very much. And we need a motion for approval of fiscal year 2019 audit report.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, our approval of fiscal year 2019 audited financial report and balance sheet.
Ms. Rogers?
I don't think you all really heard that there were no findings.
Good way to point that out.
I gotta take them where I can get them, right? Let's do that. So I just want to go over briefly with you the AFR and the balance sheet that you're going to review and approve for us to submit to KDE. So this is the report that you see every month. The difference between what we've submitted in July to KDE and right now is the July version was unaudited. This version is audited, so that there were some later entries that we had to make, like the pension entry and things like that. After all that information, I just want to point out some things for the revenue and the expenditure side of where we ended up at the end of fiscal year 19. So I may have mentioned this to you all before, but on the revenue side, we saw an unexpected increase in distilled spirits, and that was from an amended certification of one of our property owners for distilled spirits. So that was about $258,000 that we did not expect, that we gladly accepted. And then also our Medicaid reimbursement, about $81,000 more. We received more than we expected to. And that was because we have started to do started to make claims for certain services that we've always provided, but we're now able to seek reimbursement for. So that's that reason for that increase. And then also on the expenditure side, there were 3 areas actually that money was budgeted that we did not spend. So at the end of the year, we had more available. So it's just timing. Some of it is timing for some purchases and things like that. For instance, we had budgeted for the HVAC upgrade at the middle school. We decided to only replace some pumps, and then we did the whole energy contract, so that wasn't needed. Some asphalt striping and repaving, that was budgeted. We did not do that. We had anticipated we're going to spend about $200,000 on the new roof for the elementary school and the board office. We only spent $130,000. And then also supplies. About $34,000 less was spent in supplies than we had budgeted. And a lot of that we don't have in the district, at the district level, we don't have control over that. It's the school, their site-based money, that they were budgeting, that they did not spend. So another area that was pretty significant was in salaries. And that was about $250,000 that we exceeded the budget that we did not anticipate. When I do the budget this time of year for next year, I'm doing person by person. Oftentimes after school starts, we may get the actual numbers, we may need to add someone, we may have a child that moves in, circumstances change and you may need to add personnel. I'm going to do something this year that we haven't done in the past. It's kind of new in Kentucky with some school districts. It's called position control. And so you identify each position and a person is assigned to that. And then when that person leaves or is moved, that position stays by each building that has been approved. So hopefully that budgeting tool, instead of just my worksheets and things, when I develop the budget, will be a lot more efficient that way, so that when we do have someone that comes in August, September, it'll be better tracked for us, if that makes sense. And like I said, we'll be implementing that this winter for next year's budget. So unless you have any questions, that's all that I have for you all, and I just ask that you approve the AFR and balance sheet.
Refresh my memory, how many staff do we have?
It's a little, let's see, about 450. The majority of that is going to be certified staff.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So the position, if somebody leaves, you're going to maintain it, you maintain the salary of that position.
Okay, so let's say that a child that has an instructional assistant is assigned to them, that assignment will have a particular number. If that person retires or is reassigned or leaves the school district, then that position stays. And so the person that is then hired for the place then goes into that position. So you're really tracking the position, not necessarily the person. Now, if that child were to leave the district and we don't need to replace that, then that position becomes inactive. So you actually assign a number to every single position in the district, and then you're able to really drill down and budget a lot more granular than we do right now. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sure. Well,
We ask for a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2019 audited financial report balance sheet.
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We're looking at our school improvement plan, Bardstown High School.
Excited, Mr. Pickett is here. We're going to share some highlights of his school improvement plan for Bardstown High School. So welcome, Mr. Pickett. Thanks for being here.
It's always a pleasure this time of year to come down and share a little insight on some of the past and what we've done and where we're at and what we're looking forward to this year. You know, a lot of conversations at the high school are now taking place on when students graduate, you know, what is their next step? So a big part of this improvement plan that we're focusing on is, you know, exactly what does that diploma mean when they graduate and what experiences do they have? So got just a few things to share with you. I'll answer a few questions, but first I thought it would be beneficial.
Tim's coming to the rescue.
Where'd those girls go?
Yeah, that's right.
I've left the full screen, but you know, just a little overview of where we stood after receiving our school report card in the areas which the state kind of looks at as far as our accountability. And some are similar, but the areas of proficiency, transition readiness, separate academic indicators, and graduations, those are the 4 indicators. And you can see at the bottom, we did receive a 3-star rating. The bell curve going through the middle shows the star ratings and accountability across the state, and we're right in the middle. You know, we're not satisfied, but getting this new accountability system, we're in a good spot for improvement. And you know, coming out of an old system to a new, there is some transition and understanding and some tweaks to make. But just a little background on the 3-star system. Across the state, I think 230 high schools, 120 of those were 3 stars. There were only 7 5-stars in the state. And of course, the big thing to take from this, these cut scores is that each of these 4 areas are not weighted equally. So I kind of want to look to these 4 areas and kind of show you where there's a lot more emphasis on and what the state, as far as accountability, is looking at. Would like to. So here's the 4 areas, real easy. You know, in a pie chart scenario, there's less emphasis on graduation. I mean, we've always had a high graduation rate, but they greatly reduced the emphasis on the graduation and the separate academic indicators. What are the separate academic indicators? That's social studies, that's science, and that's on-demand writing. The real emphasis on the proficiency side comes from federal type of things identified in reading and math, the 2 big areas, reading and math. In transition readiness, we'll talk about the criteria of what deems a student transition ready. You know, many years ago we talked about college readiness and career readiness, and that was combined transition readiness, because you know what may be good for one or may be a pathway for one may not fit the other. There are different ways recognized by the state as being transition ready. So what's the difference between academic readiness and career readiness? Well, You think academic readiness, in the past, we've always used the ACT. That's still in place. All juniors still take the ACT. There are certain benchmarks to be made that, once again, deem a student academically transition ready. We've got a plethora, we've got a large catalog of dual credit offerings that juniors and seniors are offered, and actually 9th grade through 12th are offered through our local ATC. So a grade of C or higher in each course on 6 hours, that's pretty much 2 dual credit courses. We still have 14 advanced placement courses that I'm glad to say we're still keeping intact. Actually, we have more students signed up for AP exams this year than last. That keeps growing. Part of that may be because it's an earlier sign up, which I really like, rather than at the end of the course when they sign up for the test. And it can be a combination of any of those as far as academic readiness. On the career readiness side, for transition readiness, industry certifications, end of program assessments, tests that students take after a pathway is completed. Once again, the dual credit courses in those CTE courses that most of them are at the ATC. And then, of course, you have your Labor Cabinet approved apprenticeships or KD approved exceptional work experiences. And of course, that's basically very similar to what Rory and Becca talked about. That's inside of our district. We're placing students in positions, in apprenticeships positions that deem them transition ready. So our focus on improving. One of the biggest things as principal that I have been very pleased with has been the addition of the workforce development position. I don't know if Mr. Blanford's here, but we meet multiple times throughout the week. He was actually in our building this morning with an outside employer, with Ram Construction, with a group of students. But we meet every Monday. He's part of the admin team, and we're working together more to bring those opportunities from local businesses to our students. Before this position, it was one principal and a guidance counselor that's pretty tied to kind of school-based daytime opportunities for students. Very difficult, but that's been definitely it's worth its weight in gold. And securing those workplace opportunities for students, those internships, that number is growing. I know we're focusing mostly on seniors right now, but as we go into the scheduling season, where 8th graders are coming into the building with the Path to Pro that Mr. Blanford has put together, we're educating students at a younger age about opportunities and kind of gauging their interest through these interest inventories, and then laying out the menu of opportunities that we offer. And we offer a lot. Whereas an early student can become excited, can take advantage of opportunities, and really, just like Becca said, she's interested in film. She's getting some awesome experience right now and something she's excited about. It's a resume builder, and it's going to give her a leg up on some of the competition. And that's what we're wanting for all of our students, to have an opportunity. But and last but not least, Miss Taylor in the middle school, she's been great. Our 2 buildings are side by side. Students literally, after they graduate or are promoted from 8th grade, they come over to the high school. We're working a whole lot closer together on guiding middle school students, and my counselors and her counselors working together just during that exploration phase and seeing what the future may hold for them. That's short, it's brief. What are some questions that you have pertaining to the improvement plan? And this is really about transition readiness to adult life and different pathways after high school.
Have any of the students brought up something that they would like to do that we don't quite have curriculum for?
We get a lot of things that students bring to us that, hey, I'd like to do this, and we seem to always find a way, find some type of connection. And I think that's with the help of Mr. Blanford. He's the gopher, man. He goes after it. So not very often. Very often. I mean, with all the things we offer in-house, I was looking at the job board last night. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and I think the community employers are really latching onto this and really buying into, you know, hey, this is our future. These are our individuals that the investment's there, and we want to give them these experiences.
Can I get an example real quick? So a young man wanted to be a audio engineer, and so over the last like 4 or 5 months, I've been working with him, and we actually have gotten donations. If you look out in the parking lot right now, there's a couch in the back of my truck. We're actually building a audio and video engineering room over at the Salt River building on the top floor in the mezzanine, and he is really taken all that on by himself. We all know Jeffrey. He's been involved in audio engineering since he was a young man. So that is a perfect case in point where we're working with these students that, although we may not offer that in curriculum, a work-based learning opportunity that he's really taken advantage of, that we've kind of facilitated from the ground up.
It's not a one-size-fits-all, like here's the process. We're really, and I pat all of our individuals on the back, we're really good at, you know, let's find a way to make this happen. Let's work together to put this student in a position that, hey, this is going to better them.
We've got one kid that I wish we had one in both end zones. He's doing end zone taping of a football game. And, you know, this kid's getting a lot of experience with video. And it would make my life a lot easier if I had another one at the other end zone to be able to see both ends.
Yeah. There's not too many things out there that with guidance, and, you know, it has to be someone on the side working with these students. There's not too many things out there that a high school student can't do or participate in or learn alongside someone. And we all know what that feels like whenever you're excited and you're doing something productive and you set a product when you're finished. It makes you feel good, it gives you more confidence, and it may guide you to something that is a lifelong career opportunity.
The vocational school out there, how early do we reach out to 6th grade, 8th grade to illustrate pathways that are available out there? What does that entail?
We actually just completed our timeline for spring scheduling. It's kind of crazy. We're not even to December, but we have dates set for 8th graders to do 2 or 3 things. We have an 8th grade showcase night where the principal and some of the instructors come here. We also send a couple buses with all of our 8th grade students out there in the spring right after Christmas, and they do the tour. And then we actually do an in-house CTE type of rotation through the offerings we have in our buildings, because we have family consumer science, we have engineering, we have business, and of course we have teaching and learning. That's going well. I was talking with Ms. Clark this morning. We've got about 20 students, a couple freshmen, a couple sophomores, mostly juniors and seniors, that are in that first dual credit of 3 in a teaching and learning pathway, and that is a CTE pathway. Those dual credit classes are, they get 6 dual credit class hours a year free in those pathways. So to answer your question, 8th grade, but in 6th and 7th, I know there's a lot of exploration about when they get to that point. Oh, wow.
Yeah, the P2P starts in 6th grade, so they're exploring those career opportunities earlier than ever.
Great, thanks.
Thank you all.
How many going out to Texas now?
120. Yeah, we've got buses burning up the road. We take three sets of buses. We take 2 full buses in the morning out there, and then we take 2 at lunch, then we take 2 the last 2 hours of the day.
Does that include the folks putting the plane together?
No, those 6, they spend the last couple hours, they have their own transportation, so that's an apprenticeship.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mickett. Great.
Okay, item 9 is the approval of fiscal year 2020 SFCC KES first offer of assistance of $19,900.
Yeah, I'll ask, I'll ask Tracy to, you all have seen this many times though. but-
Yeah, so this is the first offer of assistance of KETS funds for this school year. As you all are aware, this is a funding stream from KDE that is based on the ADA of our students. This money can be used for technology purchases, maintenance, and upgrades. The amount of this first offer is $19,910. We have chosen to escrow this offer currently for the maximum flexibility of the 3 years that's available. So what will happen is we actually just drew down the 3 offers from last year and matched them. That was about $46,000. So this offer will go into escrow, and then when we find that we need those funds, we will at that time match them, and then KDE will send us this figure also. So that's it. Easy peasy.
Good, great. We have a motion for approval of fiscal year 2020 SFCC
So moved.
kits. Nope, so moved. Don't need to read it all. Need a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Entertain approval of the MOA between Guthrie Opportunity Center and the BCS BOE and Nelson County BOE.
Yes, Mr. Bardstown, right? You got that for us? This is short Lance coming up here for you. You guys look so comfortable in your new chairs. It looks good. Yeah. Mr. Stone, any falling asleep? Yeah, that's good. Thank you guys for being here today and everything you do for our district. Lance isn't here to defend himself, but I was going to make a comment about him always pulling up looking like Sanford and Son in the back of his truck. Because he's always got something great he's bringing in for our kids. It's been really nice, and we're actually starting to collaborate on some things as well for our students with disabilities. Coming to you guys today to seek approval to enter into agreement with the Guthrie Opportunity Center to provide an extension on the transition services we are already offering and have been offering to our students with disabilities, more severe disabilities, at the high school for the past couple of years. They made the offer to the Nelson County School District and Bardstown Independent District, and while we already have our own CWTP, which is Community-Based Work Transition Program, up and running, and it has been running over the past couple of years, we didn't want to miss out on the opportunity of that, having that community partner. So we are going to identify somewhere between 4 and 6 students, hopefully from the high school, that would be on alternate assessment or those not getting a traditional diploma, to kind of pair them up with a certified teacher that will be hired through the Guthrie Opportunity Center to work with those children. And we hope to get that approved amongst our Board of Education, their Board of Education, the Guthrie Board, and hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, up and running for January. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Does it require the approval of both our board and Nelson County's board to qualify the whole shoot match got to get together?
Yep, yes, that's correct. Yes, sir. It's taking some collaboration, which we're happy to do because it certainly benefits the kids in the community.
So you've already identified these young people?
Yep. Yes, ma'am. We have roughly 5 or 6 in mind. Of course, what we would have to do is once we, if we have it approved, we would then talk with the teachers and the students, get their families in the room, and kind of say why we feel like this would be a good opportunity for their child, and make sure they're comfortable with it before placing them out there. Yes, ma'am. It's very similar to what the work we're already, it is the same work actually that we're already doing with our own CWTP program, just an extension of that. Right now, Ms. Harlow and Judy Allender are taking these same children out into the community to work-based learning. That's the reason for the Tiger Trolley that you guys graciously have been the support of, I believe, in the past couple of years. So just an extension on that kind of work. We firmly believe the more we can get them out there in the community, the better they're going to be for their lifelong learning and outcomes.
Great.
All right, thank you.
All right. We have a motion for approval of the MOA.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to item number 11, the approval for construction manager contract.
Yeah, so I'll speak to that one. You remember last board meeting, you all approved and accepted Codell as our construction manager. So since that time, I've been in contact with Codell, and there is essentially a boilerplate contract that comes from KDE. So that's pretty straightforward. However, there is an opportunity to kind of talk about some of the fees. There's also there's a guideline, KDE guideline for construction manager fees, and they plan to follow that and be in line with that, which is very appropriate. But I'm pleased to share that they also agreed to provide overall a 2% discount. When all is said and done, I was able to get them to agree to that, and 2% doesn't sound like much, but it'll be a considerable amount with the entire project. So very pleased about them being willing to work with us and give us a little bit of a discount. So this contract just needs your approval if you're okay with that.
So this general construction manager will contract for everything, land surveyor, geotechnical engineer, civil engineer, and others. Is that what this means?
So I would say I may lean on you, Kenny, to help. My understanding is they would provide oversight on those things happening, but I don't know if they provide those actual.
Correct. They provide the coordination for now. Civil engineers, we have those in-house that are currently working on the project, and then like a geotech engineer, we'll solicit proposals for that because we'll want to get detailed boring information where the building is located, but our construction manager will coordinate all of that. So they're, and as well as take bids on bid day. So they're really just oversight of the entire project. We'll be putting them to work very quickly to start estimating materials, construction costs, so we can get a handle on our budget, make sure all that's in line.
These subcontractors all acceptable? Will they be?
Oh, they have to be, yeah, all of the subcontractors, there's requirements for them as well. When they submit bids, they have to have so many years' experience. They have to be bonded to protect your all's interests, and the construction manager will review and make sure, as well as us, that all of those are in place and that they're bona fide bidders that can do the work.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve the construction manager contract. Do we have a second?
Second. In a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And number 12 is our new Bardstown Elementary School project update.
Yeah, so this one's exciting. There's going to be, we were kind of joking in the office, but it was not, it's exciting to see all the pictures and the things to come. So Kenny, why don't you give us an overview?
Okay, so we had a really exciting series of meetings last week, and basically what we did is Dr. Clark provided your all's experts and your teachers, your administrators, to meet with our team and go through the design where it is right now and really start looking at their individual spaces. Your food services director looked at the kitchen layout. She actually went and toured some other kitchens that we had been involved with. Your teachers looked at regular standard classrooms as well as, art, music, special ed, all the specialized classrooms, so that we could get their input, because at the end of the day, this isn't our school, it's your all. So we want it to be Bardstown Independent's new building, and so that everyone has input. And there were a lot of great ideas, but at the end of the day, every single person that was involved in those meetings said, thanks for letting us have input. And so that was the best thing to come out of that. And so I want to just share with you a little bit. This is, you haven't seen this before, this is just a conceptual rendering of the front elevation of the school. And I won't say it's the end result, it's in progress. We're still tweaking some of the details of it. colors and that sort of thing, but I think we're very close, so I'll call this a conceptual rendering. The idea, though, is that the building fits in with Bardstown, looks like it belongs here, and would be something timeless. We don't want to make the building look like a spaceship landed out there in the field, but we also want it to look like it's new 10 years, 20 years from now, so that it just really fits in. The interior, though, is going to be a completely different story.
May I interject before you move forward?
Yes.
I don't see any big pickup trucks in that front parking lot. I'm sure those parking spaces are big enough so you don't.
Great point.
Well, and I'll be able to talk to that with this next photo here.
Nothing's worse than a tiny parking
You
lot.
got that.
Okay, so this is just an overall site plan. So what you saw in the front, that's really just a limited visitors parking. The main parking area is off to your left, and then the bus loop is onto your right. And so what we've been able to do is completely separate your car riders and your bus riders so that they don't cross paths at all. When they come into the building, they're going to come into a common space that we'll be able to show you here in just a minute. But that's the overall site plan. And we mentioned, we talked just a minute ago about geotech information. Now that we have the footprint of the building identified, we will be getting geotechnical proposals to do borings at many locations around the building. You had some done initially when you purchased the property, just for an overall, yes, this site doesn't have any significant issues, but now that we know where we want the building, we want that boring information to be in our specifications when the project goes out to bid. The reason for that is you can do the site two different ways. You can have it classified, which means you tell the contractor what to expect, and if he encounters something different, you pay the extra. Or we can make it unclassified and give the contractor good information from the borings, but whatever he encounters is his to do. And so we want to make the site unclassified. We don't want a big change order coming your way, but we want to give the contractor plenty of information so that he can make a good bid about the project. So that's just one of the things that we'll be doing coming up with that. But I do want to share with you, this is the overall floor plan of the building. Now what you see in blue, those are the educational spaces, the classrooms. The red down at the front, that's your administration and family resource areas. They're right at the front door. We'll be able to control that access to the building. No one will get past the receptionist. Everyone has to be channeled right in there to be signed in. And then what you see beyond in the yellow, we're not calling it a cafeteria because it's going to be so much more. We'll call it a learning commons. The kitchen is off to the right, and then you can see in the back the gymnasium. Now the gymnasium is a little bit different than in its location than we would have done previously because it has to double as a storm shelter. That's a mandate from the Kentucky Building Code. So the gymnasium will be that designated area. It's designed to withstand 250-mile-an-hour winds and have a 2-hour length of time with emergency operations beyond a storm event. So that will be part of the design for this building as well. But you can see, if you recall, the bus riders are over here, car riders over here. They all come in right here, and your principal can stand in the cafeteria and see everybody that arrives at the building. And so that was important for them as we talked about security and that sort of thing. Now, this is a 2-story building, so what we have is a classroom wing or a classroom pod on each side. So we have the 2 lower grades, 2nd and 3rd, and then 4th and 5th are upstairs. And then this is the 2nd floor plan, and the media center is right there. That's the yellow area between the 2 wings. So essentially we have 4 pods or 4 areas per grade level. One of the other things though that we talked about that we wanted to do If you notice this area right here in the middle, in a 21st century school, which really is a, it's a buzzword for just the flexibility of education and how things are changing. And what it means is that you don't always have to have 30 desks in a row in a classroom as the only learning environment in the school. So we pick opportunities in the hallway to address that and create learning spaces that are not necessarily standard classrooms. I'm going to show you a few images. Now this is just a preview of what's going to come next month. I talked about building a virtual reality model of the school. We're going to bring the goggles and everybody's going to get a chance to walk through the building. So this is just a preview of what's going to come. This is that learning commons. So you can see there are tables in there, but we also have a storage area, and those tables can be folded up and moved out of the way, and this can really be used throughout the day for other opportunities for learning. At the end there, you'll see what looks like a very large staircase. That's a social stair. It has a more of a stadium type seating. You could actually bring a class into there. On a mobile cart, we can pull a whiteboard in front of them. And we can just do a lot of educational opportunities in there that are not related to the lunchroom at all, which would sit empty for the rest of the day, after lunch would be over. Then the other thing is a lot of natural light. We want to bring that in there because we want a very energy efficient building that saves you all money on electricity and energy bills. This is looking from another direction of that same space. And what you'll see up above, that's the media center that I said was on the second floor. A lot of glass. Now we don't do a lot of open balcony because of not only sound but safety, but we do want the visual and getting a lot of natural light in there. And so that would be the media center that overlooks that space. And then this is one of those areas in the hallway that I just talked about where we take what would have just been circulation space that's actually now used for different types of learning activities. That's a resource room beyond that. And a lot of it is just about flexibility and mobility. So we would have furniture that can be rearranged in different kinds of configurations, soft seating so that there would be some small group opportunities in that space. And then this is just another look at that. We talked with the teachers and there were a lot of interest in having this kind of a whiteboard that would be just any place where there was a wall surface that could be transformed into this kind of an idea. A lot of the teachers loved that and wanted to see that throughout the building. And so this is just a glimpse of some of the spaces that we're going to show you in the building. You'll be able to walk through the whole thing, and so will your staff, the folks that helped us last week in identifying a lot of details about their spaces. They're going to get that same opportunity because at the end of the day, we want you all to be able to understand, visualize this building before the first brick is laid. It's a lot easier to change it when it's on paper rather than when it's being built out in the field. So we want everybody to have a clear understanding. We've even allowed the your all's local police department. We can invite them to also walk through the building virtually, look for safety issues. It's just a good tool. It's going to be fun, but it's also going to be a very effective tool for just understanding the building and making sure that at the end of this project, it's exactly what you all needed. So I've talked a lot in a short amount of time, so I'll be quiet. If you have any questions, please ask. And we don't have a formal request for approval. This is just an update. That'll come next month for the next day.
Thank you.
The gym, you said we're staying 250 mile per hour winds. What about the rest of the building?
Well, the rest of the building is still constructed with insulated concrete. I mean, it's going to be a very strong structure, but because there's glass, there's doors and glass, the shelter itself will be able to have shutters. It will close off completely, so there won't be any way, debris can move through open glass and stuff. The building itself is going to be extremely strong, but it won't meet the requirements of that shelter.
DEFCON 5 and all that.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. All right, so the work that was done, that was last week. And I think Wednesday of last week, we had teachers and food service and special education. We had all of these different groups coming through and working with Kenny and his team, and really pleased with that work. And I think folks walked out very much feeling a part of the process, which is the whole goal.
And we got some great input.
Yeah.
That otherwise, again, it's not my building. I want to make it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 13, approval for travel authorization.
Yeah, so let me run through these travel authorizations. First, there's a few from the high school here. The first one is, this is actually just one student who really went to Mr. Pickett and has asked permission to represent Bardstown High School, but to go to a speech tournament in Chicago. This is something the students are very passionate about, and the parents of this child wants to fund this opportunity for this child, but they will represent Bardstown High. And we did, part of the deal was to who you're going to be with, and Bethlehem High School is also going, so the parents are okay with and are given permission for this child to travel with another local high school. Again, this is just one child, and this is something the family wants to fund, but she's representing Bardstown High at this competition. So that's the first one. The other is the Bardstown High School Y Club. They'll be attending the Kentucky Youth Assembly in Louisville. That's November 21st through the 23rd. That's really soon. We have a brand new sponsor there, and we were just a little late getting information from them for today's meeting. That's approximately 28 students, and they're traveling by school bus. Bardstown Middle School Y Club is also participating in the Kentucky Youth Assembly. It's approximately 60 students. They're traveling by school bus, and they're going to be going to Louisville and Frankfort. Our Bardstown High School Lady Tiger basketball team is requesting a permission to attend a holiday tournament in Bowling Green. That's for December 27th through the 29th. That's for approximately 28 student athletes. They will also be traveling by school bus. And finally, Bardstown High School Y Club requesting to travel to attend the Kentucky United Nations Assembly called CUNA. That's in Louisville. That'll be approximately 25 students. And that's not until March 8th through the 10th. And they are also traveling by school bus. So those are all the travel authorizations for this meeting. Are there any questions or anything?
Okay, we have a
Move for approval.
move for approval. Travel authorization. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Now we have the approval of leave of absence.
It's just a single leave of absence. This is for FMLA for one of our staff. That's in your board notes and in your packet as well.
Do we have a motion for approval of leave of absence?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thank you. We have personnel resignations, retirements.
So we also have some resignations that are also in your board notes and board packet. So just making you aware of that.
Alrighty, that's all. SDG and council members are in a...
One thing before,
Go ahead,
these
sorry.
resignations, will they be part of this position control?
Yes.
Will it?
Okay.
In their positions? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great question.
Any other discussion, questions? All right, we've got that in there, and our SDV and council minutes.
Wait, we need approval on personnel.
I don't think so.
We don't need to, okay.
No.
Sorry.
It's okay.
That's okay. And now we have a motion for adjournment if we'd like.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Now adjourned.